Hi YouTube, welcome back to the car. I decided while I'm in the filming mood after 4 years I would go ahead and film this video. It's something that I get asked a lot by people in my regular life, and I'm sure you're curious if you watched my last video. So I'm going to go over how I ended up being diagnosed with cancer, and it's kind of a long story, but I will try to remember as much as I can. I kind of probably blocked a lot of it out, but I want to share my story in case you come across this video and you're having similar symptoms. I don't want you to be brushed off or wait to get checked out. I will tell you one interesting thing. Around the time when I started getting more sick, I was Googling on YouTube and everything, and I came across a girl's channel who had a similar situation as I did, and she made a vlog about going to the doctor before and then ultimately came back on, had no hair, and was saying it was lymphoma. Of course, at the time I didn't think that could be me, but just looking back on that video, it kind of made me take things more seriously after a while. And I've never been able to find her videos since. I have no idea who she is, but I wish I could find it. I think like she only uploaded like 2 or 3 videos, but her video did help me a lot. So let's go to the beginning of 2019. I was working a lot, like I told you guys in the last video. I had gotten promoted to like a supervisor job probably April of 2019, and so that came with a lot more work. And right before I actually got promoted, I started having really itchy feet, and I thought I got bit by a bug. I thought I might have scratched my foot, and that it was like infected or something, but the itching was really bad, and my foot was just, or my 2 feet were itching so bad that I would itch them all the time, and they would get red and like gross. And I remember like not even wanting to wear shoes that showed the top of my feet because of that. And then, well, that was in the beginning of 2019. And then actually, if I remember actually back a little bit too, I had itchy legs, and I think it was like the itchy feet first and the itchy legs. But when I'm talking about itchy, it's not just like, it's itchy. Like, it's itchy to the point where I would scratch my legs so bad that they would bleed, they would have big marks on them, they would have like, this is gross, but sorry, it's a medical video, they'd have like scabs on them. They just really hurt. And so I really got tired of it because I felt like I couldn't wear dresses, I couldn't wear anything that showed my legs. So I ended up going to the dermatologist. That's the first like foray into going to the doctor. So I went to the dermatologist, I showed them. They really took like one look at my legs and were like, yeah, it's some like, you know, dry skin or something, and so here's some cream, and that was it. They didn't like ask me anything else. The lady who I ended up going to, she literally asked me really nothing. She just looked at it, said, yep, that blah blah, this is what it is, bye. And I used the cream like religiously because I was tired of having, you know, not being able to wear things that showed my legs, and it didn't matter. It didn't really help. Eventually I think it got a little better, but still, if you ask my husband, I know he's watching this now, he was always scratching my legs, and he told me to stop because they were just getting crazy. So that's a random symptom nobody would ever think. However, just so you know, if you are extremely itchy, that is a weird symptom of lymphoma that you obviously wouldn't put 2 and 2 together. Just fun fact, I ended up going back to this dermatologist after I finished chemo to get my face prescription because I've been going there forever prior to it being a different lady. And I told her, FYI, the itchy legs were cancer. Clearly I don't expect her to know that, but the way that she had brushed me off, I didn't like it. And she was like, well, for future reference, if things don't get better, you should probably come back. It's like, for future reference, you should probably look at somebody for more than 2 seconds. But also I should mention, in my life, I've had Epstein-Barr virus, mono, more than the average person. They always say that mono, you can't get it more than once. That's a lie. It can be reoccurring in a lot of people. So if I would have a lot of stress or anything, I would always remember a cycle. Getting sick, going to the doctor, they tell me it's a virus. Getting sick, going to the doctor, they tell me it's a virus, like all the time. So I was having that, you know, on and off for years. Didn't really think anything of it. Lymphoma can be originating from Epstein-Barr. They don't really know what causes it, but that is something that is kind of linked to it. I know that my type of lymphoma was not actually linked to Epstein-Barr. I didn't have like the tracers for it, although every time I get blood tested for Epstein-Barr, it's super high in my blood system. So I think it's just something that I always have to live with, unfortunately. So, in the new job, fast forward, I'm working a lot. I told you I was working lots and lots of hours. Like, you know, I would wake up at like 5 in the morning. I had to leave by 6. I drove over an hour to get to work. I worked without really any breaks. I was like, I was supervising people and they were all spread out around the office. So I was literally like running from one side of this big office to the other side. And it was just crazy for a while. And I was tired, super tired. Everyone would think they would be tired from that situation because, you know, I was coming home and I was getting back on the computer working till midnight most times, and so nobody would guess that being tired, once again, isn't anything normal for someone my age and who is working that much. So the thing with being tired is I started noticing that, especially on the weekends, I had to take a nap because I guess I could, but I had to. I was so tired. I couldn't keep my eyes open. I would lay on the couch and fall asleep. I would tell my husband, like, I just need to go take a nap, and I couldn't obviously nap during the day at work, but I was drinking coffee all the time, Red Bull, like whatever I could to stay awake. And around that time, I also started getting dizzy spells. And I remember very specifically driving on the highway, and I was on the way home, and that's a long drive, and it's a lot of traffic, and it's a dangerous highway on the way home. And I like kind of sort of blacked out, like not where I passed out, but I remember going, ooh, and like I felt like I could have crashed my car. Went home and told my husband that, and at that point, he's like, we need to go to the doctor because this is not normal. Was also having trouble concentrating at work. I would probably read like the same thing over and over again. Somebody would like interrupt me because I was always being asked questions, which was fine, that's my job, but I would not know what I was like looking at, confused sometimes, like I don't know, kind of, it was just a weird feeling. It was like a brain fog. And so after that incident driving on the highway, my husband and I went to the doctor, and it was a new doctor. It was nearby my job because I literally had to be close to work because I couldn't take, you know, I really felt like I couldn't be away for very long. So I went to the doctor, and they ended up putting me on, it's like a depression medicine, but it's really more for people who can't pay attention. So like ADHD. So the girl told me, you know, yeah, a lot of people your age who have very demanding jobs, they're on this medication. And so, you know, try it out and see. They did blood work, and the medication seemed to help for a while. It helped me focus more. I felt like, oh, maybe this is what I needed. It was a little weird for me to take medication because I never took anything like that. But I thought, well, if it helps me, it helps me. So around that time, like I said, I got blood work. The test results went up online, and I noticed that there was one level in my blood that was high that was called lymphocytes. And I, of course, Google everything. Actually, at my cancer center, they would call me Dr. Google because, I mean, in this day and age, who doesn't Google stuff? And it always says cancer. In my case, it was right. But anyway, so lymphocytes can be an indication that you know, it could be cancer. It doesn't mean that it is. People have normal infections. So I remember I was kind of freaking out. I texted my husband. My husband actually was freaking out more than I was. He even called up to the doctor's office and said, what is this blood result? And they told me, oh, it's nothing. You know, it's, you know, for your age, it's not that abnormal, you're fine, basically. So I remember like around July, I was going up for a follow-up. I was still at that point actually having the vertigo. I felt like I couldn't focus again. They were gonna up the medication level. She told me, this is the other doctor told me, oh, surgeons take this medicine because they're so stressed out, so take more medication. And I was just like, okay, you know, at that point I was struggling to keep it all together because I didn't feel good. I was tired. I'm trying to think if there's, around July too, I had to go up north for a training. I was getting sick. I remember going to the doctor. I can't afford to be sick. I said, I need something. I was like the Minute Clinic. They said, oh, it's a virus, it'll go away. I was like, okay. But I always felt like if you feel like you have like the flu kind of coming on, that's kind of what it felt like. So I would take NyQuil, Dayquil, like everything to just try to function, drink coffee, Red Bull, like who knows. I was always trying to do something. So shortly after, I think maybe end of September-ish, I had the worst neck and back pain, like terrible. I have never experienced anything like this. I have neck pain normally, but this was like radiating down into like my back and my neck area. And if I remember, actually earlier on my birthday is like around August, around that time, August, September, my husband took me to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Universal, and we were walking around, and I didn't have any medication with me, but I'm telling you, my back hurts so bad that we had to go buy some. I remember telling him I can't walk around anymore, I'm in so much pain, which was really bizarre. And I remember I had like the KT tape that you use like if your like muscles are weak or whatever, and I used that during pregnancy, and I found some, and I had my husband tape up my back and my shoulder and everything, and I had a ton of tape. And I remember the people that were working for me at the time were like, what is going on with you? And I'm just like, I am in so much pain. And you know, the KT tape was sticking out. My mom was like concerned, what's going on? So then I made another doctor's appointment thinking, okay, I'm familiar with like, you know, herniated discs and things. I deal with that in my job. So I was like, maybe I have a herniated disc, I don't know. There's weird people back there. So I ended up going to like an orthopedic doctor, and they did an x-ray of my neck and told me that they think I had I'm trying to see what's going on with these people. All right, they went away. They thought I had a bulging disc in my neck, and I was like, okay. And they said, well, kind of take it easy, like you can go to physical therapy, but like, so they took an x-ray, and that was basically it. I never saw the x-ray. I can read not read them like by the images, but I know what, if I could read the impression, I know what it means. I never saw it. But while I was sitting in the orthopedic office waiting to check out, I remember going like, ow, 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 my neck hurts so bad. And bam, right here, I felt a lump. And I was like, it was pretty big, and I was like, what is this? You know, and I was like, what's going on? So I remember going home and showing my husband. He's like, that's weird, I can definitely feel it. I showed some of my friends that were at work, like, what is this? And you know, they're just like, you probably should go to the doctor. I remember talking to somebody that was on my team. They told me to go to the doctor. Another one on my team had a fiance that was a nurse, said, oh, it's a lymph node, you should probably get it checked out if it doesn't go down. Showed my mom. My mom was like keeping it inside, but now that I've talked to her now, I know that she was very concerned about it. So it was like a Friday, I was off work, we were downtown like at this artesian alley farmers market thing. My parents were like feeling it again and were concerned about it. Here I'm busy like doing stuff for work, on the phone all the time, like I don't have time to be sick. Not really that worried about it, but I said, okay, fine, I'll go to the Centricare. So I remember my mom was watching Luna, so I could go to the Centricare. My husband was in the car with me. He took me to the Centricare. I remember going to the Centricare. The lady felt my neck and was like, it's a lymph node, those swell in response to infections, which is true. I'm gonna give you some antibiotics, super strong, for 2 weeks, and let me know. Oh, this was before the whole Friday thing, sorry, it's all a blur sometimes, but let me know if, you know, doesn't, oh no, she says don't go to the hospital or go to your doctor if it doesn't get better in 2 weeks. And I'm sorry, I'm not editing this, so I'm all over the place, but go to the doctor if it doesn't get any better. And I'm just thinking to myself, why are you telling me to go seek more opinions about this if it's literally just a virus or an infection? The way that she was saying it was she was wanting to tell me more, but she didn't want to say it. I think she had a feeling that it was something bad, but didn't say anything. I don't know if that's like a Centricare policy or what, but I wish she would have just opened her mouth, because the amount of antibiotics that they gave me was extremely ridiculous. I remember showing my friends, my mom, my husband, and it was like, I can't even remember, but it was like high dose antibiotics. And I think I took them for like a week and nothing was happening. But you know, I distinctly remember coming out of Centricare asking my husband, like, why did she say it like that? What is going on? I think my husband even went back in and asked her, so we have to go somewhere if this doesn't work? And she was just like, yes, you need to go to the doctor, you should follow up with your doctor. okay. I remember getting in the car and I was Googling, and it said like lymph node cancer, lymphoma, and I started crying. And that's weird for me because I've read stuff on Google that says you have cancer like every 5 seconds. Everyone has. But I remember Googling this and I was like, Michael, I think I have cancer. It's cancer. The lymphocytes, this is cancer. He is very like, he needs to know what the facts are, and he won't like buy into that. So he's like, you don't know that. But I think he even like shed a tear or some. And so that kind of worried me. So fast forward, it was like that Friday night. My parents were feeling this again. I was busy working, not trying to worry about it. The antibiotics weren't working. My mom didn't think I should be on all those antibiotics. That Sunday, my mom was like, you need to go get checked out more. Finally broke down, and really just to stop everyone from telling me there was something wrong with me, I went to the emergency room. Went into the emergency room, showed like the front people what was going on, and I remember there was a bunch of people waiting. They skipped me over all the people waiting. That scared me. I was like, they don't skip you over people waiting in the ER unless they think it's something bad. But the nurse people were still like, oh, it's probably just mono, it's probably this or that. The ER doctor came in fast, which scared me, and was like, let me feel it. Does it hurt when you move it? And it was large, and I'll show you my scar, but it was a large lymph node. I was like, does it hurt? Like, I pretty much feel fine. I just, little like a cold or something, tired. Started asking me more things, and I said, well, I have been feeling dizzy, tired, some itchiness, nothing like that added up to cancer to me. So as soon as they felt this, they decided to do a chest x-ray, and I'm like, okay. And they're like, well, we're just gonna do this to rule out anything. And I'm like, okay. At that point, I'm like kind of getting freaked out, but I'm like, it's just to rule out anything. It's going to be fine. So they do a chest x-ray, and I will never forget, they come in and they're like, I'm sorry, but we need to do a CT scan now. We found masses all over your chest. And I just couldn't believe it. Like, my husband couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I was texting my mom, crying, immediately said, I don't want to lose my hair. I don't want to lose my hair. I don't want to lose my hair. Like, I was crying, freaking out. My husband's like, just wait. We don't know what's going on. So I ended up getting a CT scan of my head and my chest and neck area. My head was fine, thank God. And the rest of it, though, I had masses in my neck. I had masses all over my chest, and they were large. They were by my heart. They were just everywhere. And so it was like, what is this? I'm asking. The ER doctor was a lady, and I don't remember her name, but she was so sweet. I was crying. She ended up bringing me a teddy bear, like what they give to little kids when they're in the hospital. And she told me, if this is the cancer that I think it is, I had a friend, he got diagnosed really young. He made it through. She started crying. I'm crying. It's just a mess. Then they're like, we're admitting you. I'm like, this is not happening to me. Like, this was supposed to be, go in, I'm fine, leave. This wasn't supposed to be, you're admitted to the hospital. I remember this lady came in, felt my neck, and she's like, yes, you have lymphoma, but it's fine. It's the good cancer. I have heard that so many freaking times, that this is a good cancer. There's nothing good about any type of cancer. So don't ever say that to anyone, number one. Number two, especially if you're in the medical profession. But that happens. So I'm like, I have lymphoma. I'm like freaking out to my husband. He's like, you don't know that. We still don't know that. He always tries to be positive. Next, they randomly grab who became my doctor for the longest. Now I'm at Mayo Clinic, but my doctor happened to be there on a Sunday night. He's a hematologist, oncologist. They pull him in. He looks at me. He's like, we need to remove your lymph node. And I'm like, what? We need to remove your lymph node for a biopsy. I'm thinking, remove it. And they're like, yep, you're going to go under, general anesthesia. I've never had surgery in my freaking life until now. I've had like 4 or 5 surgeries, but I'm terrified. I'm like, I can't lose my hair. This is ridiculous. Like, what is going on? I'm scared shitless. I'm scared, and my mom is freaking out. She's not even there. She's taking care of my daughter. So Long story short, we end up getting the biopsy. I'm discharged from the hospital the day after the biopsy. I still don't know if I have cancer or not. I don't know what's going on. I end up like waiting 4 days, and 4 days of this shit is like hell. So 4 days go by, and I go to the oncologist's office to get the results, and they still don't have the results. And there's a guy walking behind my car randomly. There he is. Hi. Okay. They still don't have the results, and they tell me, well, you know, we had part of your lymph node looked at and it's normal. It could be this thing called sarcoidosis. And I'm like, okay, great. Sarcoidosis, let's go. Anything but cancer. And basically, the way that I find out definitely that I have cancer is probably the worst thing I've ever seen anyone. I'm sure it's been worse, but for me, this was terrible. Way to find out is I was looking on this app. They have this app where they put your results on it, and I was refreshing it like all the time because I'm crazy. I'm like, I need to know if I have cancer. I'm freaking out. The waiting game is the worst. I'm sitting in Chick-fil-A with my husband. I refresh it. We just got our food. I refresh it, and it says appointments, and it starts updating with these appointments. Bone marrow biopsy, whatever, typing, and I'm like, bone marrow biopsy? I start Googling that. I'm like, you don't need a bone marrow biopsy unless you're staging someone for cancer. I have cancer. Nobody called me. They just released these appointments online without ever calling me and telling me I have cancer. It was terrible. I remember I couldn't eat. I got up. I was like, we have to leave now. We left. I called the doctor's office. I'm like, hello? These things came online. Do I have cancer? And I remember they couldn't even tell me at that point. They're like, somebody's going to have to call me. So I don't know who they had called me, but they called me. They're like, hi, Miss Gomez. Yes, you, I'm sorry to tell you, but you do have Hodgkins lymphoma. And I just said, okay. And I started crying, and I hung up the phone, and I laid on the ground, and I cried more than, like, harder than I've ever cried about anything in my life. Like, I didn't know what to think. It was like a dark cloud had been over my life, and now the dark cloud exploded. And I hope nobody ever has to find out they have cancer that way. They should be called and told and not have to find out from an online app. I think that's completely insane. And that really should have given me like a warning sign about that cancer center. Really, I should have just gone somewhere else because that's crazy to me. So that's basically the whole like crazy story leading up to how I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. I'll probably make another video about how I found out that I still have Hodgkin's lymphoma, but just this story is just to show someone, if you have a lot of symptoms that aren't adding up, don't give up. Don't stop going to the doctor. Don't stop advocating for yourself, because thankfully it hadn't gone to my bone marrow. I was still stage 2. There's 4 stages, so you know, if I had just kept ignoring everything and never going to the doctor and never pushing for things and never going to the ER and just freaking putting my head in the sand like I wanted to, thankfully my family didn't let me. Who knows kind of like where I would have been. I'm still obviously now having to go through more chemo, a stem cell transplant, but I'm still alive. Like when I was finally into the doctor's office to tell me like, hey, here's the plan, you have cancer at stage 2, I was told I have 7 months to live if I didn't start treating now. Who, like, what? 7 months to live? Like, that doesn't compute with me, and it still doesn't. And obviously I'm still here, thank God. But it was just a crazy roller coaster. And please, if you're watching this and you have questions, concerns, you think you might have something, your mom, your parent, well, that's your parent, your friend, your child, God forbid, leave a comment. I'm not a doctor, but I will always respond and try to tell you what my experience is, or if you have somebody battling cancer, I understand where you're coming from. That's all I have to share today. Very long video, I apologize, but it was a very long process and one that I'm still going through. So I will link below the Instagram that I started to kind of follow along this journey with me again. Try to do more videos, of course, but no guarantees. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.